Breaking tonight from New Mexico, federal agents have uncovered what they're calling the most shocking government infiltration in state history. A governor on the cartel payroll.
11.4 tons seized.
The desert wind pushed grit through a broken warehouse entrance. An FBI evidence technician lifted a black folder, still warm from someone's grip. Inside, a payment schedule stamped with the New Mexico state seal and signed in blue ink, Governor Rachel Cordova. For one long second, the room stopped breathing. But to understand how we arrived here, we need to go back 84 hours. 3:19 a.m., Doña Ana County, New Mexico, a moonless stretch of desert where the highway lights fade out. 3 miles off the road, concealed behind mesquite and creosote, federal agents monitored a farm that wasn't a farm. Thermal scopes revealed heat blooms, generators, industrial ovens, and bodies moving like ants. The Joint Task Force had figures already. 3.4 tons of cocaine expected, 1.8 million fentanyl pills packaged for distribution, and a money trail pointing to a $4.7 billion fraud network laundering cartel cash through charities, construction bids, and campaign donations. But here's what they didn't know. Who tipped the Sinaloa cartel off at 4:36 a.m., 9 minutes before the first breach? Why did a seized phone ping from inside the governor's office at the exact moment the raid went live? What was the encrypted file labeled Blueprint? And why did a veteran DEA supervisor keep saying, "This isn't just narcotics, this is government"? Type 3:19 a.m. if you're ready to see what they found. 4:43 a.m., 7 locations. Simultaneous breach. A steel door at a border warehouse gave way under a ram. Flashbang, white light, thunder in a tin box. Agents poured through the smoke. Boots hitting concrete, voices sharp, clear, hands. As men in hoodies scrambled between pallets. Across town, another breach team hit an underground casino disguised as a members-only social club. Neon lights, stale cigar smoke, and a back room packed with accountants counting dirty cash. A cartel member shoved duffel bags toward a hidden hatch. He didn't get far. In the desert, a third team forced open a gate at a cartel mansion. Stucco walls, security cameras. A guard reached for a rifle a moment too late. At a trafficking house near an industrial park, ICE strike teams hit the front while FBI wrapped the back. Inside, the air was thick with bleach and fear. 54 victims were found alive, silent, dehydrated. One woman gripped a child's wrist so tightly, her knuckles turned white. Comment 54. Victims, if you believe they deserve justice. By sunrise, the first wave tally came in. 3.4 tons of cocaine, 1.8 million fentanyl pills, 720 pounds of heroin, $16 million in cash, weapons, 54 military-grade rifles, 15 RPGs, and body armor with police markings. Sheriff printed across the chest in clean official lettering. The cartel wasn't just arming itself, it was disguising itself as law. Then, a tech in the warehouse called out one word: photos. On monitors still running were surveillance shots of federal agents. Faces, license plates, children being dropped off at school, red X marks over certain heads. Someone had been putting together a hunting list. 7 hours later, FBI Cyber Command, Quantico, Virginia. Analysts worked in focused silence, breaking military-grade encryption from the seized servers. They named it Operation Silent Throne. A progress bar crawled 94%, 97%. The first decrypted map wasn't tunnels. It was people. Shell companies spread like veins across the screen. Fake charities in Las Cruces. Restaurant chains in Albuquerque. A construction firm winning state contracts in Santa Fe. Money moved in clean lines. Drug profits. Shell invoices. Community grants. Campaign payments. Policy shifts that loosened inspections and redirected patrol routes. One analyst zoomed in on a node labeled G. Under it, 4 offshore accounts. And meeting schedules logged at a private airstrip outside Deming. A veteran FBI agent, 24 years in, stared at the screen. I've never seen corruption this well organized. And then they answered one question. The 4:36 a.m. tip-off came from Deputy Director Marcus Brennan, a DHS liaison. His work phone had pinged the cartel's encrypted channel 3 minutes after the raid order went out. But Brennan was not at the top. He was just the messenger. A new file surfaced, locked behind extra layers. Label Blueprint. On the first page, executive clearance required. Pause. Guess who the silent partner is? The answer comes in 60 seconds. Comment Blueprint if you're ready for the reveal. 6:14 a.m. Joint Task Force Command Center. A converted hangar outside Albuquerque. A digital map covered the wall. New Mexico lit up with 54 pulsing red markers. The commander laid out the scale. 1,400 federal agents, 72 SWAT teams, 21 Black Hawk helicopters, DEA and ICE strike teams operating as one. The Desert Super Lab went first. It was producing 600 kilograms of methamphetamine every week. Industrial mixers, chemical drums. When the breach charge blew, the shockwave rolled across the sand. Men ran. Some fired back. Agents moved through it like a machine. A luxury mansion in the hills came down next. Marble floors, gold statue, cartel leadership in silk shirts, hands up, eyes wide. At the border, a tunnel system was mapped out. 480 meters long, rail tracks, ventilation, documented, then collapsed. By noon, total seizures, 11.4 tons of narcotics, $89 million in cash and assets, 370 arrests, 118 firearms, 22 armored vehicles. And then the final blueprint server was cracked open. The operation was a success. The commander told his team, the network is dismantled. He was wrong. Type 11.4 tons. If this seizure shocks you, because what analysts uncovered made the previous 17 months look like a rehearsal. The blueprint file wasn't a ledger. It was a contingency archive. 34 police officers across 6 cities, 11 Border Patrol agents, 6 judges, 17 state legislators. Every name, every payment, every call. All documented not by investigators, but by the cartel itself. Insurance, a dead man's switch, preloaded and encrypted, set to auto-release to 19 media organizations if access was cut for more than 96 hours. The methods were precise. Border Patrol routes adjusted during convoy windows. Falsified logs carving out safe corridors. An Albuquerque judge who threw out 16 narcotics cases over 24 months. Each one tied to Sinaloa. Raid schedules leaked 84 hours ahead of time, twice. Evidence that walked out of a Santa Fe locker and was never seen again. At a federal courthouse in Las Cruces, a deputy marshal watched his precinct captain get escorted out in handcuffs. He stood in the parking garage for 34 minutes before he could bring himself to go back inside. Comment parallel system if you see this as infrastructure. This wasn't a few bad apples, said the lead FBI commander. This was a parallel system, a second force, one that answered to the cartel, not the Constitution. Governor Rachel Cordova was taken into custody at her Santa Fe residence at 8:17 a.m. She said nothing. Deputy Director Brennan surrendered at 9 a.m. 370 cartel members behind bars, 34 officers charged, $4.7 billion in assets frozen. The network was gone, or so they believed, because buried in the final partition was one folder they nearly missed. Dated 5 weeks before the raid, titled Phase 2. Inside, 5 new states, 5 new government connections, 5 new offshore payment schedules, and 5 names the FBI had never come across before. The Silent Throne hadn't been stopped. It had been franchised, and the next generation was already up and running. Type franchised. If you understand the bigger threat, in New Mexico alone last year, 3,200 people died of overdoses. 72% involved fentanyl, traced to corridors identical to the ones taken apart here. 54 victims were rescued. Investigators believe more than 270 remain unaccounted for. An Albuquerque sergeant told debriefers, "We have to rebuild what they gutted. That's going to take longer than the investigation did. This is not just a crime story. This is a blueprint. It happened here. It's happening elsewhere." Now here's what you need to understand. This New Mexico operation connects directly to what we exposed 3 videos ago. If you watched our Phoenix Desert Shield investigation, you saw Miguel Cordero's franchise model. Different state, same blueprint. Governor Cordova's offshore payments, identical to Chicago's Silent Gateway at O'Hare Terminal 5. If you watched that, you saw how General Marcus Webb engineered federal inspection protocols. Cordova followed the exact same playbook at the state level. These aren't separate stories. They're nodes in the same network. Phoenix had El Arquitecto, Chicago had El Sombra, New Mexico had Cordova and Brennan. And the blueprint file? It points to the same 5 Phase 2 cities we've tracked across 4 investigations. One is the Gulf Coast Port Hub from Dallas-Fort Worth. Another is the Midwest Corridor from Atlanta Horizon Relief. Comment same network if you're connecting the dots. Here's the part that should genuinely alarm you. The encrypted file labeled G in Silent Throne. That initial doesn't stand for governor. It stands for gateway. And when we cross-referenced payment timestamps from New Mexico with our Minneapolis judicial corruption case, 3 payments lined up to the exact same offshore account, the one registered to Judge Michael Barrett. If you've made it this far, you're seeing what most people scroll right past. Tap like so this reaches more eyes. Comment expose if you want these investigations brought into the open. Go back and watch our Phoenix Desert Shield video, then Chicago Silent Gateway, then Atlanta Horizon Relief. Because when you see all 4 together, you'll understand this isn't about cartels pushing into cities. It's about cartels constructing a national system, state by state, official by official. The Phase 2 cities named in the blueprint file? We've been tracking them for 6 months. Next Friday, we're releasing the investigation that connects all 5. The one showing how a single cartel financial architect has been coordinating operations across Arizona, Illinois, Georgia, New Mexico, and one state you haven't heard us mention yet. A state where the governor's chief of staff holds an offshore account we've been watching since the Atlanta raid. Subscribe, because if you miss part 2, you'll miss the name that pulls every investigation together. The person present in the background of 4 raids. The silent partner federal agents have been chasing for 22 months. And when we finally reveal who it is, you'll realize you've come across that name before in one of our earlier videos. I won't say which one, but if you've been paying close attention, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about the moment the evidence drops.